We are going to get started on our webinar today. Our topic is heat tools for the automotive industry and is presented by Steve Deramo, National Sales Manager with Steinl America. Steve has been our automotive sector champion for over 12 years and has represented Steinl in such world-renowned auto shows as SEMA. Before we begin, I have a couple instructions for the group. As questions come up, we have two ways to get them answered. On your screen, you should see a window that says questions. You can ask questions throughout the presentation using that question window, and we will respond with an answer or have Steve answer them live. You should also see a little hand icon that indicates a raised hand in the group. We will open the phones to ask a live question at the end of the presentation. If you would like to ask a question, please press the raise hand button so that we can unmute you. So with those housekeeping items complete, I will go ahead and turn it over to Steve.
Well, thanks, Casey, and thanks everyone for joining us. This is a little unprecedented for us in that we generally don't like to do this. We like to be in front of our customers and see them face to face. But since this is unusual times for all of us, this is our third Steinel Tools webinar. We've done a roofing and electronics, and now we're working on our automotive one, which you guys have nicely joined us for. And you can actually find these on our YouTube channel at Steinl America on YouTube. And so this one, like I said, is going to mainly be focused on our automotive segment of our business. And as you'll see, you're going to find that the main things we talk about is the durability, efficiency, and safety of our tools during this presentation. So a little bit about Steinel. Steinel is, we like to call ourselves the inventor's company, in that our engineers in Germany design our tools so that they last. They think about, they think outside the box and scrutinize things that most companies might take for granted, providing value-added features and functions with the, without the additional cost. So basically, for those of you familiar with Steinel, you already know that we have quality products and how well they're built, because they're built to last. For those of you who aren't familiar with Steinel, in this presentation, we're going to be focusing on, like I said, those three main things: the durability, the efficiency, and the safety of our products. One of the other things you'll see on this slide is that all of our products are made by Steinel. We don't outsource anything. Everything is made in Europe, nothing made in China. So you're getting a good quality tool. We have a couple facilities over in Europe where everything is designed and built. The elements inside our heat guns are hand woven, so that you're getting a good quality tool. So in the automotive industry, there are many applications. This is just kind of a few of the main ones that are uses in the automotive industry. So we have window tinting, where obviously we have many array of heat guns from a low end to a high end for all the different applications here, but window tinting is one of them. Vehicle wrapping, plastic bumper welding, but basically also anything plastic on the car that you can weld, you can do with our heat guns. Vinyl dashboards, vinyl and leather seats, upholstery, whether it's stretching the upholstery to get the wrinkles out, or whether you're actually repairing the leather or vinyl with our heat gun and other products that you can do that with. Wire harnesses, that's any type of wiring anywhere on the automobile or in the automotive industry. We have heat guns that are used for they're mainly designed for wiring, but we can also do other things with that. So with that, removing decals, anything that can heat up that gum of that stickiness to remove it easier, that's what a heat gun does. And then obviously repair of interior and exterior parts from anything from the headliner to the door panels and whatnot. So that's all the different applications you can use, a few of the main applications you can use in the automotive industry with our heat guns. So now, we get into focusing on what makes Steinel tools so high quality and more durable. So basically, as I talked about, all our tools are made in Europe. So you're getting high quality product and parts. They put all our tools through a rigorous quality testing to make sure they're getting sent out to the users in perfect condition and working properly. And then also we have certain models with a 10,000 hour brushless motor. I'll point one of them out in this presentation, but basically that gives the heat gun and the user the ability to not worry about their heat gun for a long time. They know it's going to last. And then most of our heat guns have a durable, long-lasting ceramic encapsulated heating element in that. That means it's a little more durable should the user drop it or anything like that. That heating element's individually encapsulated, so each coil is individually encapsulated to give it a little more wear and tear should it get dropped. As we all know, they get dropped from time to time. And then heat precision within 10 degrees. On our digital models, you can actually go from 120 to whatever that max temperature is on that model by 10-degree increments. So if you know you need to work at 300 degrees, you can dial it into exactly what temperature you need to do that with. And then easy parts to replace. Every part is replaceable, easy to maintain. So in this picture, if this gentleman were to drop that gun and say he accidentally cracked the housing of that heat gun because he dropped it, he can buy just the housing. He can buy just the switch or just the nozzle, so he doesn't have to replace that whole heat gun should something happen to it. And as we all know, workers are sometimes a little rough on the tools, and that's the nice thing about it. You don't have to pay another, whatever it is to get another heat gun. You can just buy that one part that he broke if the switch got broken or something like that. And it's very easy to maintain. It doesn't void any warranties by opening up our tools. We encourage you to fix your own tools to save yourself some money and time. And then our e-tools have are monitored for an overheating, and basically they have a thermal cutoff that allows them, if you were to place it up against something and all that extra heat's going back into the gun, it's actually going to shut itself down to maintain the gun. It's going to shut it off so you don't overheat the motor inside and melt that gun. So if you've ever had a heat gun just die on you, that sometimes is what happens. It doesn't have a thermal cutout. So it just basically, as you're using it, it dies on you because all that extra air is going back in and frying that motor. So with that, as you can see, maximum efficiency. These accessories to speed up your process. So a plug-and-play ceramic encapsulated heating element on some of our models, and that allows you to not have any downtime. A couple screws and you can take an element out and put it back in. We have field changeable power cords. Should you happen to cut or burn or run over a power cord and it get ruined, you can easily, with a couple screws, put a new power cord on and not have any downtime. We have a couple different stands, but the one they're showing here in the middle of the screen on the bottom is their magnetic flex stand. We also have a vacuum sealed vacuum pump suction cup stand that will also allow you to put the gun into it and be hands-free. So you can bring the work to it, or maybe dry some paint on the side of a car by placing it in there and just leaving it for a while and not having to stay there with it. On our digital models, we have programmable heat and CFM outputs, and that means, and the CFM, that means for cubic feet per minute of air. So that's the airflow. And basically on our digital models, you can actually set the heat and the airflow to maintain a certain temperature and airflow that you desire. So that helps efficiencies, helps speed up your process, and know that you're at the proper temperature always is the best thing for your job. So one of those accessories is that HL scan. And basically what this is an IR temperature reader, and it actually attaches to the top of the gun here. It's just sitting right on top. And in the past, you had to use two hands. Well, let me go back here. Sorry about that. In the past, you had to use two hands, and you would have to use the heat gun in one hand and the IR reader in another to make sure you're getting that proper temperature at the surface. And what this HL scan does is it actually reads you program it to whatever temperature you need, and it sends out a visual, an IR scan that reads the surface temperature. So if you need to be at exactly 300 degrees, you can program this HL scan to beep at you when you're too hot or when you're too cold. And then also it'll be green when you're right at the right temperature. So it also indicates the temperature of too hot by a red screen and too cold of a blue screen. But basically, you can set it to whatever temperature or whatever you're detecting, and that allows you to make sure that your heat gun is hitting that say you're putting on some window film and you need it to be at 300 degrees. You can make sure that that window film is being done at the exact temperature you need. And it does fit on all.
Question.
Okay, go ahead.
The question is, I guess, a comment first. I've had problems with scanners in the past not reading the correct temperature when I change the material. Is this scanner any different?
Yes, absolutely. See, so you can see here, this is called the emissivity setting. So basically, in the manual for this device, it tells you which emissivity setting you need to be on for what surface you're reading. So, for example, if you're doing a leather upholstery, I don't know which setting you would exactly be on, but you're going to be on a different setting than if you were shooting it at some metal, because the reflection of that material is what's coming back to the reader. So you have to change the setting, and that allows you to work, on different materials and get the proper reading. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay, I hope so. So that's basically it, and I can answer more questions at the end of the slideshow as well. So safety, this is one of the things we pride ourselves on. Safety, protect the operator and the material. So basically, we've ergonomically designed this generation of tools. Before, our tools and other tools we're basically in a 90-degree handle and output barrel. And now we've ergonomically slanted them a little bit different so that they're ergonomically designed to feel better. And for those people that are using them all day long, if you're wrapping a vehicle for hours at a time, you got to have that gun in your hand. You want it to feel comfortable, lightweight, and not ergonomically correct is what you'd like. So that's what we've designed these tools to be. All of our tools are double insulated to prevent electrical shock. Obviously, that's just common sense, but that does make a big difference. The protection tube. So basically down here in the bottom left, you're going to see our poly protection tube. We also have a wire protection tube. And what that does is at 1200 degrees, if this gun is at full temperature, full airflow, you can grab this poly tube or the wire protection tube, and you will not burn yourself or the material you're working on by touching this device to it. So it's just a safety precaution so you don't get too close to the material or to your hands. Excuse me. And then as you see also the afterburn fusion afterburn tape. This is a tape that can go onto the heat gun on any one of the nozzles here to prevent burning, so you don't touch the surface or touch your hands afterwards and burn yourself. It's a big thing. A lot of our tools, a lot of people don't like to cool them down, even though we have a cool down switch on them. So if you turn them off, they right away get really hot. And so if you need to take a nozzle off or you go back to grab that tool later, this fusion tape will also prevent you from burning yourself. And then on certain models from the 2020 up, our electronic models, they all have an LED indicator that allows you to know the gun is still hot. So in certain cases where it's a loud environment, that allows you to make sure that in a loud environment you can still see that tool is hot. It will keep flashing and indicate until that gun is down to room temperature or ambient temperature. And even if the heat gun is unplugged, it has its own power source, so it'll keep flashing until the gun is completely cooled, so you know not to burn yourself, know not to touch it. So now we're getting into the tools. This is our HB 1750, meaning heat blower. So this is the perfect tool for window tinting in that it's a lot more airflow. It's a lot more CFM, 23 cubic feet per minute, whereas our other heat guns get up to about 16 or 17 CFM. And this one is far more superior in the airflow, but there's no precise way to dial in a temperature. You are in a roundabout area for temperature. We have the ability to go from 200 to 1200, but it is in a varied way. There's no precise temperature. You're in a roundabout area of what temperature you need. A durable, high-packed outer shell, so it can be dropped and not break on you. And also you can replace all these things. Like I said, all of our replacement parts are available should you break it. And then it has a plug and play element with a heating tube on the outside. So as you see here on the outside of the gun, the front of the gun, this is a cooling tube, I should say. And what that does is there's air flowing through the heating element and then also around it to protect the end user. So it keeps it cool. But at the same time, if you don't cool this heat gun down, it will get hot afterwards. So that's why the fusion tape was on that last slide. And then we have some butane torches. This is just a few of the butane products we offer, but we have soldering irons, we have micro torches such as the TT175 and the TT40. And what they do is they allow you to be mobile. So if you need a heat gun or a heat device away from your shop, or maybe in a smaller area that you can't get into with your heat gun, this is the perfect device. It allows you to get in there. There is no control on temperature other than a high and a low, and it is flame, so you are going to be a lot hotter, but it is something you can use if trained properly, and we highly recommend them for certain applications, especially getting into those tight areas. And then down in the right-hand corner, this is our ultimate butane kit, which is basically our #1 selling butane items with a little bit of butane, a little bit of solder, some heat shrink tubing, and all the accessories you need to get your job done, just in a nice little kit that's available for you. So we'll move on, and we're getting into all of our regular heat guns. So you see here in this slide, we've got a good, a better, and a best. And what that means is it's just kind of showing you the different steps you could take from in price range. So you'll start at the 1620 being our entry level and work your way up to the HG 2520E, which is our high-end Cadillac model, if you will. You know, and it's, excuse me, it's a great, these are all great tools, and I'll just get into some details about them. So again, this is our 1620. It's our entry level heat gun. You know, you're working with a great tool, hot and hotter control, in that when you place the gun closer, you're going to be hotter, and as you move away, you're going to get cooler. This is your traditional style heat gun, ergonomic and lightweight. You know, a high quality 600-hour brush motor, 20% longer lifetime than anything you can get in one of those box stores. So it's, even though it is our entry level gun, it is still a great tool that's going to last a lot longer than anything else out there on the market. And we'll move on to the 1820. And this is basically one step up from that 1620. You're still in our goods category. I still have that high quality brush motor. The heating element is now ceramic encapsulated, as you see on the bottom of the screen, meaning that all those coils are individually encapsulated with ceramic for more durability, like we talked about, for when something does drop or something happens like that. You'll see the hanger up here, excuse me, which allows you to use a zero gravity reel or some kind of hanging device, but it's also the place where you'd place that HL scan if you were to need it. And then, you know, like I said in the last couple slides, we've designed these ergonomically so we have a better center of gravity, fatigue-free operation, as you can see down on the pictures here on the side. So that's basically what we've designed with this gun. It's still your entry level, still your basic. You have a cool down and then a high and a low with the different temperature ranges. So that's your basic heat gun still, just a little more comfort, grip, and that kind of thing from the last model. And as we move up, we're going to move into the electronic, as is indicated by the HL1920E, the electronic precision for experts. So what that means, that E means electronic. So that now anything with a E has a thermocouple in it. That allows you to put nozzles that are going to restrict airflow for welding or hitting a tight area or doing some type of small area up under a dashboard where you need to pinpoint that airflow. You can't do that with our lesser heat guns because it will blow out the, you know, all that extra heat's going to go back to the heat gun. This thermocouple allows you to do all those pinpoint operations and applications like that. So you still have all the great quality of the 600-hour brush motor, one hand operation, the thumb wheel. So that's how you're changing your temperature from 120 to 1150. So you're again, it's not precise, but you know when you're at a certain number, you're in a temperature range that you need to be at. So you'd have to know what temperature range to be at. And then what you can also see is that it takes all the nozzles, all the standard nozzles, anything that can be pinpointed down, you can still use those. You have the hanger for integrated work, putting that HL scan on, and then all those great things. And then also this has the thermal cutout. So if this does get too hot, if you were to butt this up against some metal and all that heat is going back into the heat gun, it's going to basically cut the motor off until that heat gun cools down, and then you'll start it up again, just to protect the gun and let it last a lot longer. And then, so 2020, this is the next model up, and as you can see, it's our first model with the digital readout. So you can go from 120 to 1150 and everything in between by 10-degree increments, which you can change with this joystick right here. Up to the right, down to the left with temperature, and then you have a cool down and a high and a low for airflow. And basically, this has an easy and fast cord for power change for power cord. So basically in the field, if you had an extra cord and something happened, you could just, there's a couple screws where you would unscrew this and change that cord out in the field, easily done, so you don't have any downtime. And then there's also a warning on the screen that you'll get that in case it's overheating, and it'll also overheat control. That thermal cutout is on this as well. And then you'll also see up here in this little spot, this is what we call a thermal indicator. And basically what that does is it's indicating that that there's heat to the heat gun. So once heat is applied to this heat gun, this indicator is going to flash. and it's just going to blink at you. And so when you turn the heat gun off, it's going to continue to flash until that heat gun goes all the way down to ambient or room temperature. And basically, this allows a worker, someone in a workplace in a loud environment, or I've actually gone into some facilities where they had workers that were deaf, and they didn't, they needed something to indicate to that worker that the heat gun was still hot and not to touch it. So this does that. This indicator allows you to know that the heat gun is still hot, and if the heat gun becomes unplugged, it'll still keep flashing. It has its own power source. So it's a nice feature there, safety feature. And then this is our HG2320E. This is our, this is a programmable for total temperature control, as it says. So you've still got all those other features in that last model. You've got a brush motor with a minimum of 1,000 hours on it. You have some safety safety and whatnot. The safety heat indicator, like I spoke, I'm sorry. LCD display with a few different functions. You have a locking feature on this. So if you need to be at a certain temperature and a certain airflow, you can actually lock this gun with a sequence of buttons that will lock it. So the only thing your worker can do is turn it on and off and not change that temperature. So if they need to be at 1,200 degrees or say 500 degrees, they're not going up to 1,200 and ruining what you're working on. You can actually lock it so it kind of makes it dummy proof for your workers. They can only use it at one temperature. Now it can be unlocked and rechanged again, but it's just a nice feature for some of those things. So everything, again, it's got the easy power cord change. And then one of the nice things, this model and a couple, one of the nice accessories we have that I haven't spoke about yet, this is a fine dust particle filter. And this actually goes right over the end of the gun on the intake. And so if you're working in a dusty or dirty environment, that fine dust particle filter will filter out and allow only clean air to get in, so you don't short out or dirty up your motor on the inside. And then lastly, for the tools, the 2520. This is this is our Cadillac model, if you will, in that it's you got the plug and play heating element, meaning you take off a few screws and you have pop the old one out, put a new one in. So there's no downtime, no wiring. You still have a hanger on top. You still have the safety indicator. And then this gun actually goes up to 1,300 degrees. So 120 to 1,300 by 10-degree increments. You're using the joystick right here, and you can change the airflow by about 7 different airflow settings. So instead of just a high and a low for the airflow, you can go from a low to high in about 7 different increments. So you can change it quite a bit. And then one of the nice things this model has, instead of that HL scan that clipped onto the hanger, this has what we call an HG scan. And basically you take this black neck off right here and slide the scanner on and put that neck back on. And this actually has some probes that integrate to the heat gun. So when you set this heat gun to say 500 degrees, say you're working on some window film and it has to be done at 500 degrees, just an example, this will actually read the surface temperature and control the heat gun for you. So if you're too hot, it'll cool the heat gun down. If you're too cold, it'll heat that heat gun up for you to maintain that 500-degree temperature properly while you're working. So that's one of the nice things. Again, the non-slip standing surface and all these great things. A changeable power cord. We actually have a power cord, I think I mentioned it earlier, that's 21 feet long. So the window tinters and the wrappers out there, when you're using a regular heat gun and you have to plug an extension cord in, where that connection is always a chance of scratching someone's car. This 21-foot cord allows you to have that cord way away from the car and get all the way around the car without having to switch cords or plug in somewhere else. So that's a nice feature that's available on this and a couple other models. But you can reach out to any of us at any time and we can help you find answers to any of that. So lastly, I want to talk a little bit about our customer service. We have a full tech support and sales team that is here to help you, within standard business hours, of course. But we have people on the East Coast, Central, and West Coast of the country to help you all the time. You can reach out to sales at steinl.net or the 800 number there to find one of the regional sales managers across the country. We pride ourselves on samples. So if you are interested in seeing a sample or trying something before you buy it, please reach out to us and we will get in touch with you and get you a sample, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to buy what you like. Sorry about that. So basically, if you get an order in by 1 p.m. Central, it can be sent out the same time that day. And again, our tools are designed for durability, efficiency, and safety. And now I'd love to open it up for questions. Casey, if you could handle that. You can find all our stuff at www.steinl.net. And yeah, questions.
So just as a reminder, we can open this up to ask questions live. So again, you should see a little hand icon. So go ahead and click that icon if you want to ask that question live. We do have a question that came in on the question panel. I do a lot of bumper repairs. I can't buy all of these. Which tool do you recommend?
Well, obviously we do have different kits and whatnot that are available that have all the parts you need to do some bumper repair. But minimum, you'd need one of our heat guns with the thermocouple, so you'd need at least an electronic heat gun. And then there's a couple nozzles you'd need to do the bumper welding repair. We have, reach out to any one of us and we can get you all that information and all the part numbers you'd need for whatnot. But you'd need at least an electronic heat gun and obviously the right nozzles to do the welding. Which we don't have pictures here on this slide, so I can't really go back and show you the exact nozzles you'd need. But reach out to any one of us and we'd be glad to help you and answer any one of your questions in that way, in a more personal setting. So we can tell you exactly what you need for that.
So as a reminder, obviously the sales@steinl.net email is there. And you can also check out the website. There is a map that shows you, depending on state, which regional sales manager you would reach out to. There's another question about the protection tube. It says, how does the protection tube prevent me from burning myself?
Well, basically what it is, I can go back and show you if you'd like, but basically it goes onto the neck of the gun and it sticks out a little further past the gun. And so the heat is still coming out. It basically just allows you to not reach in and touch that metal nozzle, if you will. So it kind of sticks out a little further and allows you to not get your hand in and touch it or, touch the workplace or the material you're working on as well. It's just kind of a safety device to allow you could still get wires in and do the wiring through it, but it is just there to prevent you from burning yourself or burning the material. It's kind of just a safety device. It's not 100% dummy proof. You can still reach in and touch it and burn yourself, but it is a little bit more of a preventative for that reason.
Another question came in, any battery tools in the future?
We do have something in the pipeline. It is currently being worked on and going through the UL process. I don't want to give you a time frame because it could be 6 months from now, it could be a year from now that it is out, but we do have one coming. It is in the pipeline and we're very excited about it. Just right now, I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. But it is coming. It is being designed as we speak. It's pretty much designed. It just needs to go through the UL process because we won't sell it here in the States or North America until it is designed properly and meets all those specifications for UL.
Okay. And so far, no one has raised their hand to ask a question live. And I believe that is the last question in the panel.
Okay.
So,
well, I think with that, I would just like to say, if there's not any other questions, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for giving us a half hour of your time. I hope you reach out to our sales team and we get some some business for both of us. During this time, it's a little now that things are starting to open up again in certain parts of the country. Hopefully, your businesses are starting to open up again, and we're here to help you with anything you need regarding heat guns. If you'd like to see any samples, reach out to us. And again, just thank you for spending some time with us. And please stay safe and healthy. And we hope you all do that and have a great day.
Thank you.